Soft piano music drifts in, the kind your grandmother might have played on Sunday afternoons. The camera settles on Dr. Hope in his favorite armchair, a warm lamp glowing behind him. He's holding a small, faded photograph, 2 fingers gently tracing the edge. "What if the way you're tucked in tonight is quietly stealing years from your life?" he asks, voice low and steady, the way a trusted friend leans in across the kitchen table. "I'm Dr. Hope. I've been a neurologist for nearly 50 years, long enough to have sat beside more than 10,000 bedsides, holding hands that suddenly couldn't hold back. And I'm here to tell you something most doctors never will. The position you fall asleep in can be the difference between waking up strong and not waking up at all." He sets the photo down, eyes meeting yours through the screen. Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning with a headache that feels like a vice, or reached for the bedside lamp and found your arm heavy, almost foreign? I need you to know that wasn't just a bad night. That was your brain waving a red flag. Here's the part that still keeps me up some nights. Researchers at the University of Kentucky followed thousands of adults over 60 and discovered something chilling. Certain ways of resting your head and neck during deep sleep can raise your stroke risk by as much as 4.3 times. That's not a gentle nudge, that's a 330% leap. And the quiet truth: more than 8 out of 10 people your age drift off in at least one of those risky postures every single night. Let me introduce you to Margaret. She was 72, taught 3rd grade for 34 years, and could quote every Dr. Seuss book by heart. Every evening she'd settle into bed flat on her back, arms and legs spread wide like she was floating on a cloud her starfish. She called it One Ordinary Tuesday. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, reached for her coffee mug, and nothing happened. Her right arm simply refused to move. In the ER, the scan lit up like a Christmas tree a clot had formed while she slept, starving part of her brain for 6 full hours. Margaret looked at me with tears in her eyes and whispered, "I just wanted to rest." The good news, and I promise there is good news, is that Margaret is back in her garden today, deadheading roses and laughing with her grandkids. We discovered exactly what went wrong, and we fixed it together with changes so simple you can start them tonight. That's what we're going to walk through in this video, the 5 everyday sleeping positions that can silently raise your stroke risk, and the one proven posture that keeps blood flowing freely to your brain all night long. I'll share the science in plain English, the real-life stories that still move me, and the gentle steps that helped Margaret and hundreds of my patients wake up safer and stronger. Before we go any further, please do me a small favor. Drop your age and the city you're watching from in the comments below. I read every single one, and I answer as many as I can with tips tailored just for you. Let's begin with the position Margaret loved, and the hidden danger lurking inside it. Let's start with the position that feels the most innocent, the one so many of us slip into without a second thought. I call it the starfish. Picture yourself lying flat on your back, arms stretched out to the sides, legs relaxed and open, like you're floating on a calm lake under a summer sky. It's the way kids sleep after a long day at the beach, the way my own grandchildren flop down when they're exhausted from chasing fireflies. And for years, I thought nothing of it until I started noticing a pattern in my clinic that turned my stomach. The trouble begins the moment gravity takes over. When you're on your back, your tongue eases toward the back of your throat. It doesn't drop dramatically. It just settles. Soft tissue meeting soft tissue, narrowing the airway a little more with every breath. As we get older, the muscles in our throat lose some of their tone. Think of a rubber band that's been stretched too many times. That gentle narrowing becomes a real bottleneck. Air struggles to pass, and the oxygen your brain counts on starts to dip. Night after night, hour after hour, your brain is running on fumes. Researchers at Stanford wanted to measure exactly how much this matters. They invited 1,200 adults over 50 to spend a few nights in their sleep lab, wired up to monitors that tracked every heartbeat and every breath. The results still give me chills. People who spent most of the night in the starfish position saw their blood oxygen levels fall an average of 15% below normal. 15%. That's the difference between breathing easy at sea level and trying to catch your wind at the top of a tall mountain. For 6 or 7 hours, your brain is quietly gasping. And when oxygen runs low, your blood changes. It thickens, almost like maple syrup on a cold morning. Thick blood is sticky blood, and sticky blood loves to form clots. Those tiny clots can float along until they lodge in a narrow brain artery, cutting off flow to a patch of precious tissue. Doctors call them transient ischemic attacks, mini-strokes that come and go. But to the person living through one, they feel anything but mini. The Stanford team found that starfish sleepers faced a 23% higher chance of these warning events, 1 in 4 extra scares, just from the way they arranged their pillows. I met Patricia the way I meet so many of my patients through a referral slip that simply read persistent morning headaches. She was 68, a librarian who still rode her bike to work every day, rain or shine. She told me the pain started behind her eyes the moment she sat up in bed, sharp enough to make her wince. Over-the-counter pills barely touched it. By the time she reached my office, she'd cut her morning coffee ritual in half because the smell made her nauseous. Patricia had been a starfish sleeper since college. She even joked that her dorm mattress still had the outline of her outstretched arms. We brought her in for an overnight study. The numbers painted a grim picture. 4 times that night. Her oxygen saturation dipped below 90% deep into the danger zone for stretches of being 6 to 8 minutes each. I sat her down the next morning and explained it as gently as I could. Your brain is suffocating while you dream, I said. It's sending you those headaches like smoke signals. Patricia's eyes filled. She wasn't afraid of hard work. She just hadn't realized sleep could be work. We started with the simplest fix in the book, one my grandmother could have sewn in an afternoon. I handed Patricia a clean tennis ball and an old athletic sock. Slip the ball inside, I told her, then safety pin the sock right between your shoulder blades on the back of your pajama top. The first night, she woke up laughing. Her body had tried to roll onto its back and met an instant, gentle reminder. Within a week, she was naturally settling onto her side without the ball even nudging her. Muscle memory is a powerful teacher. Next, we raised the head of her bed. Not with a stack of pillows, those only crank the neck forward and create new problems, but with 2 sturdy wooden blocks under the bedposts at the headboard. Lifting the mattress 4 inches, gravity became her ally, keeping the tongue forward and the airway open. We added a cool mist humidifier on her nightstand. Moist air keeps delicate throat tissues from swelling overnight. 3 small changes, none of them expensive, none of them complicated. 3 months later, Patricia walked into my office carrying a bouquet of library roses. The headaches were gone. Her follow-up sleep study showed oxygen levels steady in the high 90s all night long. Even better, a specialized ultrasound of her brain arteries revealed smoother, wider flow than we'd seen before. A large study out of Japan tracked 3,000 seniors for 5 years and found that those who broke the back sleeping habit lowered their stroke risk by 18%. That's one life preserved for every 5 people who make the switch real numbers, real hope. Patricia still sends me postcards from her bike trips. On the back of the latest one, she wrote, "I sleep like a side-winding river now, and my mornings taste like coffee again." That's the kind of note I keep pinned above my desk. Now, the starfish isn't the only way we lie on our backs and invite trouble. There's another posture that looks almost military in its neatness, arms pinned to the sides, head straight, everything in a perfect line. It feels disciplined, controlled. But beneath that calm surface, something far more dangerous is pressing against the delicate highways in your neck. Let's talk about the soldier next, because what it does to your vertebral arteries might just be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. If the starfish feels like a carefree sprawl, the next position is its opposite: neat, orderly, almost proud. I call it the soldier. You lie flat on your back, arms straight down at your sides, palms facing in, feet together, like you're standing at attention under the covers. My patients who favor it often describe it the same way I feel: tucked in, secure, everything in its place. Robert used to say it reminded him of the bunks on the aircraft carrier where he served in his 20s. After 40 years of sleeping like a soldier, though, his body started sending distress signals he couldn't ignore. The danger hides in the curve of your neck. When you rest on a pillow that's too flat or too thick, the weight of your head presses the cervical spine into an unnatural line. 2 delicate arteries, the vertebral arteries, thread through tiny openings in the vertebrae, winding their way up to feed the back half of your brain. That region controls balance, coordination, even the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. In the soldier position, those arteries get pinched, especially if your pillow doesn't match the natural hollow behind your neck. It's subtle at first, no pain, no drama, just a quiet squeeze that lasts all night. A team at the Cleveland Clinic wanted to see exactly how much blood gets through. They brought 500 volunteers into a sleep lab and ran real-time MRI scans while the participants dozed. The images told a stark story in the soldier posture. Blood flow through the vertebral arteries dropped an average of 32% compared to side sleeping. 32% less fuel reaching the parts of your brain that keep you steady on your feet. Add in the natural stiffening that comes with age, or the plaque that builds when cholesterol runs high, and you've got a traffic jam in the narrowest part of the highway. 1 lane closed, pressure building, warning lights flashing. Robert first walked into my office on a Tuesday that smelled like autumn leaves. 64 years old, retired aerospace engineer, still sharp enough to rebuild carburetors for fun. He told me the dizziness started small, standing up from the breakfast table too fast, the room tilting like a slow carnival ride. Then came the mornings when his granddaughter's name slipped away, just for a second, but long enough to scare him. His blood pressure cuff at home read 180 over 110 more often than not. "I eat oatmeal. I walk the dog. I take my pills," he said, frustration creasing his brow. "What else is there?" We scheduled an overnight study. The monitors caught it clear as day every time Robert settled into his soldier stance. His vertebral arteries narrowed, and his blood pressure climbed in response. The body senses the bottleneck and pumps harder to push blood through, creating spikes that stress the vessel walls. 6 weeks earlier, he'd had a tiny stroke on the right side of his brainstem. Silent, no weakness, but enough to blur his memory for names. I showed him the scan. "Your bedtime posture is squeezing the life out of the back of your brain," I said. Robert looked at the glowing image, then at me, and nodded once. "Fixable?" he asked. "Absolutely," I told him. We started with the pillow swap. I handed him a cervical roll, think of a firm, skinny hot dog bun for your neck. It slips under the curve just right, lifting the head enough to open those vertebral highways without tilting the chin. Robert laughed when I said it looked like a pool noodle's serious cousin, but he took it home. Next, we placed a regular pillow under his knees whenever he found himself on his back. The slight bend in the legs eases pressure on the lower spine and makes side sleeping feel like the path of least resistance. I asked him to aim for 1 hour on his side the first week, then add 30 minutes every few nights. Think of it like easing a ship into a new heading. I said, slow turns, steady progress. 6 weeks later, Robert brought me a jar of his wife's peach preserves as a thank you. His morning blood pressure hovered at 128/78. The dizziness was gone. He'd rebuilt his granddaughter's bicycle without forgetting a single bolt. A follow-up ultrasound showed those vertebral arteries flowing wide and smooth. The European Heart Journal had tracked thousands of older adults for a decade and found that soldier-style sleepers faced 28% more ischemic strokes overall, 41% in those over 65. Robert read the abstract I printed for him, folded it neatly, and tucked it into his shirt pocket. "Evidence," he said. "I like evidence." These days, he sleeps on his side with the cervical roll cradling his neck and a pillow hugged to his chest like an old friend. He tells me the first thing he notices every morning is the quiet steadiness in his head. No tilt, no fog, just the clear bell of a new day. And when his granddaughter asks why Grandpa sleeps curled up like a shrimp, he smiles and says, "Because shrimp don't get dizzy." The soldier position looks disciplined, but it's quietly cruel to the arteries that keep us upright. We've covered 2 ways lying on your back invites trouble. Yet there's one posture that sends more seniors to my emergency pager than either of them combined. It's the one you'd swear was harmless, the one that feels like surrender after a long day. Stomach sleeping, the free fall. Let's talk about why turning your head for hours on end can tear the very lifeline to your brain. We've talked about lying on your back in 2 different ways, each with its own quiet risks. Now let's turn our attention to the position that feels like pure surrender, the one that lets you bury your face in the pillow and forget the world. I call it the free fall. You're on your stomach, one knee often pulled up, arms wrapped around the pillow, head twisted sharply to one side so you can breathe. It's the way my youngest daughter slept through every thunderstorm when she was little. The way a lot of us collapse after a day that's asked too much. Comforting. Yes. Safe. Not even close. The trouble starts the moment your neck locks into that 90-degree turn. The carotid artery, the thick pipeline that carries 80% of the blood to your brain, runs right along the front of your neck. When you twist your head for minutes, let alone hours, that artery gets kinked the way a garden hose bends when you step on it. The flow on the side you're facing slows to a trickle, while the side you're turned away from gets stretched thin. Over the course of a full night, one half of your brain is sipping through a pinched straw while the other half is pulling on a frayed rope. Researchers at Johns Hopkins wanted to see how dramatic the change really is. They used advanced ultrasound to watch blood moving through the carotid arteries of people sleeping face down. The numbers stopped me cold on the side turned away from the pillow. Blood flow dropped an average of 85%, 45%. That means nearly half the oxygen and nutrients your brain expects simply aren't arriving. If you're over 50 and have even a little plaque lining those arteries, the twist adds mechanical stress that can pop the plaque loose or tear the delicate inner lining. Doctors call that a dissection, a rip in the artery wall that can launch a clot straight to the brain. One wrong twist, one bad night, and the damage can be permanent. Sarah's story still haunts my quieter moments. She was 49, ran marketing for a small software company, and had free-fallen into sleep since she was a girl. She told me the pillow under her cheek felt like home. One Thursday morning, she woke up, rolled over to silence her alarm, and the world on her right side went dark. She could see shapes on the left, but the right half of her vision was simply gone. In the emergency room, we found a clot lodged in the artery that feeds the visual cortex, a clot that had formed overnight in the stretched wall of her twisted carotid. We dissolved it with powerful medications and saved most of her sight, but the scare aged her 10 years in a single day. I sat with Sarah the next afternoon while the hospital hummed around us. She kept touching the bandage on her arm where the IV had been, as if checking that the nightmare was real. "I just wanted to sleep," she whispered. 6 months later, she sent me a photo she was hugging a long body pillow down her side, sleeping on her left, neck straight, a soft smile on her face. The follow-up ultrasound showed the tear in her artery had healed smooth. She wrote on the back, "I can see my daughter's freckles again. I keep that picture in the top drawer of my desk." Breaking the freefall habit takes a little creativity, but it's gentler than you might think. We start by building a soft barricade. Line regular bed pillows along both sides of your body, like bumpers on a bowling lane. When you roll toward your stomach in the night, the pillows nudge you back without waking you fully. Next, swap the pillow under your head for a long body pillow that runs from your chest down past your knees. Hug it close. It becomes your new anchor, keeping your torso aligned and your neck from twisting. Many of my patients tape a little ribbon to the end of the pillow as a reminder. This is my side sleeping friend. There's often a hidden reason people choose stomach sleeping, and it's worth checking. Undiagnosed sleep apnea makes lying on your back feel impossible. The airway collapses, and you flip to your stomach for relief. A simple home sleep test can uncover the issue, and treating apnea with a gentle airflow device can make side sleeping feel natural again. Sarah discovered mild apnea and started using a small machine at night. Within weeks, she was sleeping through the night on her side without the barricade. A large study out of Toronto followed 8,000 adults for years and found that those who stopped stomach sleeping lowered their overall stroke risk by 34%. For people with heart conditions or high blood pressure, the drop was closer to 50%. Those are numbers that turn worry into action. Sarah now keeps a small pillow in her car trunk just in case she dozes at her daughter's soccer games. She laughs about it, but I know the truth she's guarding the sleep that guards her brain. We've covered 3 positions that steal blood from your brain while you rest, each in its own sneaky way. The next one surprises even seasoned doctors because we've been recommending it for years, thinking it protects the spine. The fetal position, curled tight like a question mark, looks cozy and safe. But curl too tightly, and you're squeezing the very vessels you need wide open. Let's walk through why the fetal can become a trap, and how to keep its comfort without the danger. We've walked through 3 positions that rob your brain of blood while you sleep, each with its own quiet betrayal. The next one stings a little extra because it's the one I used to recommend myself. I'd tell patients, just curl up on your side. Knees drawn in, it's gentle on the back, easy on the joints. I meant well. But there's a world of difference between a relaxed side curl and what I now call the tight fetal knees jammed to chest. Chin tucked so far down you could rest it on your breastbone. Shoulders rounded like you're bracing for bad news. It looks cozy, almost childlike. In truth, it's a slow squeeze on the very pipes that keep your brain alive. When you fold yourself that tightly, 3 things happen at once, and none of them are kind. First, the sharp bend at your neck presses both the carotid and vertebral arteries flat against the bones of your spine. Second, the curled chest narrows the space your lungs need to expand, so every breath pulls in less oxygen. Third, the extreme flex at hips and knees pinches the big femoral arteries in your thighs, slowing return flow to the heart. Your whole circulatory system is suddenly working through a maze of kinks. Night after night, the heart pumps harder to push blood past the obstacles, and that extra effort tears microscopic scars in the delicate lining of the vessels. Scars invite clots. Clots invite strokes. A joint effort between Harvard and the Mayo Clinic set out to measure the overnight toll. They fitted 2,000 volunteers with portable blood pressure cuffs that recorded every beat while they slept. The tight fetal sleepers saw their numbers climb an average of 15 points higher than side sleepers who kept a looser posture. During REM sleep, when muscles go limp and the body relaxes, the curl often deepened, and the spikes shot even higher, sometimes brushing dangerous territory. The heart, bless it, never stops trying, but the price is wear and tear on the endothelium, the silky inner coat of every artery. Once that coat frays, trouble moves in. Dr. James Morrison was the last person I expected to see on my own stroke service. 55 years old, cardiologist, ran marathons for charity, cholesterol numbers a teenager would envy. He came in after a dizzy spell at the grocery store, left him gripping a carton of orange juice like a lifeline. The MRI showed a small stroke in his left frontal lobe, nothing paralyzing, but enough to slur his speech for a day. We reviewed his sleep study together, and there it was, tight fetal, night after night. His overnight blood pressure graph looked like the Rockies peaks at 190, over 115, whenever he curled deeper in his dreams. I thought I was protecting my back, he said, shaking his head. Turns out I was strangling my brain. We loosened the curl the same way you'd ease a too tight knot in a shoelace, one gentle tug at a time. First, the 90-degree rule, knees bent no farther than a right angle. The same comfortable seat you'd take in a dining chair. Next, the orange trick. I asked James to imagine a ripe orange tucked under his chin, not squashed, just resting there. That mental picture keeps the neck long and the arteries open. Finally, a thick pillow between the knees to stop the top leg from sliding forward and twisting the hips. Within 2 weeks, he was sleeping in a soft, open C shape instead of a clenched ball. 3 months later, his overnight pressures settled into the 120s, and a repeat scan showed no new trouble. He still runs, but now he jokes that his finish line photos show a looser stride and a looser sleep. The Lancet pulled numbers from 15 studies covering 50,000 adults and laid it out. Plain people who sleep in a tight fetal ball face 43% more strokes overall, 58% if blood pressure already runs high. Loosen the curl, lengthen the night, and the risk melts away. James sent me a postcard from his latest race, a selfie at mile 20. Orange ribbon pinned to his shirt for the orange under my chin. I laughed out loud in the doctor's lounge. We've saved the deadliest for last. The one I warn my medical students about with a sketch on the whiteboard and a quiet shake of my head. I call it the stroke pretzel, lower body facing one wall, upper body twisted the opposite way, spine wrung out like a dishcloth. It's the position your body slips into without permission, and it can cut blood to your brain by more than half before you ever open your eyes. Let's untangle the pretzel and keep the night safe. We've saved the worst for last, the one that turns a night's rest into a silent assault on your brain. I call it the twisted pretzel. You start on your side. Maybe. But somewhere in the darkness, your body decides to improvise. Legs swing one way, torso rotates the other, and by morning, you're wound up like a dish rag someone forgot to wring out gently. Shoulders face the ceiling, hips point toward the footboard, neck cranked at an angle that would make a yoga teacher wince. It's the position you don't choose. It chooses you when blankets tangle and pillows shift. And it is, without question, the most dangerous way a body can spend the night. The damage is panoramic. Your spine becomes the twist tie in the middle of a plastic bag. The aorta, the grand trunk that carries every drop of freshly oxygenated blood from your heart, gets folded in the chest. The inferior vena cava, the wide return pipe that brings blood home from your legs, is squeezed flat in the abdomen. Up top, the carotid and vertebral arteries in your neck, already navigating 4 sharp 90-degree turns through the bones of your spine, are now asked to corkscrew even tighter. Every major highway to and from the brain is kinked, stretched, or crushed. The result is a perfect storm of low flow and wild pressure swings that can trigger a stroke before the alarm clock ever thinks about ringing. Scientists at the National Institutes of Health wanted hard numbers, so they fitted volunteers with sensors that tracked blood flow in real time. When people slipped into the twisted pretzel, brain circulation dropped an average of 50% to 60%. That's not a dip, that's a blackout. Meanwhile, tiny pressure sensors called baroreceptors nestled in the walls of the carotid arteries went hey. They're supposed to keep blood pressure steady, but the twisting confused them. 1 hour, the reading might be 90/60, the next 200/120, all while you dream. Those roller coaster swings tear the delicate lining of the vessels and invite clots to set up camp. Michael's wife, Ellen, is the reason we caught it in time. 67 years old, retired airline pilot, still flew radio-controlled planes with his grandson on weekends. Ellen woke at 3 in the morning to use the bathroom and found Michael contorted like a question mark that had lost its way. Head turned left, shoulders right, knees pointing somewhere else entirely. She tried to straighten him, but he murmured and settled deeper into the twist. The next morning, he couldn't find the word for coffee, and when he stood to walk the dog, his left foot dragged. The MRI lit up with 3 small, silent strokes scattered across both sides of his brain, damage done over months of pretzel nights he never remembered. I showed Michael and Ellen the scans side by side, the dark spots where brain tissue had quietly died. Michael's pilot instincts kicked in. "How do we reroute?" he asked. We built him a sleep cockpit. First, a full-length body pillow shoulder to knee that he hugs like a co-pilot. It locks the torso and legs into one straight line. Next, a pillow fortress, 2 firm bed pillows on either side, creating a gentle canyon he can't twist out of. For extra insurance, we raised the head of his adjustable bed a few degrees. The subtle incline discourages rotation without feeling like a hospital contraption. Michael calls it his no-spin zone. 3 months later, the follow-up MRI was clean, no new strokes, no fresh scars. His word-finding returned, and he flew his grandson's drone in perfect figure eights over the park. A worldwide study tracking 100,000 adults for 15 years found that regular pretzel sleepers suffered 72% more strokes than those who stayed aligned. In people over 70, the risk nearly doubled. The researchers' conclusion still rings in my ears. The twisted pretzel is the single most preventable stroke trigger nobody talks about. Michael keeps a small laminated card taped inside his cockpit, his headboard. It reads, "Straight spine, steady flight." Ellen added a smiley face. You've seen the 5 positions that steal blood from your brain while you sleep, each more dangerous than the last. The good news, the part that keeps me coming to work at 86, is that there is one posture that opens every artery, steadies every pressure, and lets your brain drink deeply all night long. I sleep this way. Michael sleeps this way. And after tonight, I hope you will too. Let's walk through the aligned side sleeper, step by gentle step, and give your brain the rest it deserves. You've seen the 5 ways your body can betray your brain while you sleep, each position quietly closing doors that need to stay wide open. Now let me show you the one posture that throws every door open and keeps them that way all night long. I call it the aligned side sleeper. It's how I drift off at 86, how Margaret gardens at 73, how Michael flies drones with his grandson at 68. It's not fancy. It's not complicated. And it might just be the kindest thing you ever do for your brain. Picture yourself on your side, spine running straight from the crown of your head to the tip of your tailbone, like a string of pearls laid gently on velvet. Your head rests on a pillow that fills the exact gap between your ear and the outer edge of your shoulder, no higher, no lower. A second pillow slips between your knees, keeping your hips stacked neatly so your top leg doesn't slide forward and twist your lower back. If there's a little dip at your waist, a small rolled towel tucked there gives gentle support. Your arms rest forward, relaxed, maybe hugging a soft body pillow if you like the feeling of something to hold. From the side, you look like a calm, open sea. Nothing forced, nothing clenched. The beauty is in what doesn't happen. The carotid arteries in your neck glide straight and smooth. No kinks, no pressure. The vertebral arteries thread through your spine without a single sharp turn. Your chest has room to expand with every breath, pulling in deep, steady oxygen. Blood pressure stays even, the heart pumping without strain. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania followed thousands of older adults for a full decade and found that people who slept in this aligned side position suffered 47% fewer heart attacks and strokes than those who curled, twisted, or lay flat. 47%. That's almost one life saved for every 2 who make the change. Margaret's journey back to this position is one of my favorite chapters. You remember her 3rd grade teacher, starfish sleeper. The morning her right arm went limp over coffee. After the clot, after the scare. We started small. 1 hour on her side the first week, pillow between her knees, head on a custom-measured cushion. She called it her training wheels phase. Every Sunday, she added 15 minutes until the whole night belonged to alignment. A year later, she walked into my office carrying a basket of tomatoes from her garden, sun-warmed and fragrant. "I sleep like I'm 50 again," she said, eyes sparkling. Her blood pressure had dropped 12 points. Her morning stiffness vanished, and the follow-up scans showed arteries wide and clean. She dances at weddings now, slow dances with her husband under string lights, no fear of the room spinning. The setup is simpler than you might think. Start with the pillow under your head. Stand sideways in front of a mirror, relax your shoulders, and measure the distance from the edge of your shoulder to the tip of your ear. That's your pillow height, firm enough to hold the space, soft enough to cradle. Between the knees, use a pillow thick enough to keep your hips level. A folded bath towel works in a pinch. If your waist sags toward the mattress, roll a hand towel into a soft log and tuck it there. Your mattress should be medium firm, no sagging valleys, no rock-hard slabs. Think of it as the foundation of a house you want to last. Training your body takes patience, the same way you'd teach a puppy a new trick with gentle repetition and plenty of praise. Begin with 1 hour on your side before you let yourself roll wherever habit takes you. Each week, add 15 or 30 minutes. Most folks find that within a month, the aligned position feels like home. The body learns what the brain already knows is safest. My patients keep a little bedside journal. Night 3, stayed aligned until 2 a.m. Woke up without the usual neck crick. Small victories add up to lifelong protection. The gifts keep coming. People tell me they wake without the dull ache across their shoulders. Morning headaches fade like fog in sunlight. Energy arrives earlier, lasts longer enough to chase grandkids through sprinklers or bake cookies without needing a nap. Blood pressure often settles 10 to 15 points lower, sometimes enough to ease back on medication under a doctor's guidance. Sleep itself deepens the brain. Finally fed a steady river of oxygen, rewards you with dreams that linger into the day. I still remember the first night I committed to aligned side, sleeping myself. I was 78, stubborn, convinced my old ways were fine. I woke at dawn feeling as if someone had slipped an extra hour into the night. No grogginess, no stiffness, just quiet readiness. I've never gone back. You've met 5 patients who suffered because their sleep stole from their brains, and you've seen the one position that gives back everything and more. The science is clear. The steps are gentle, and the results are waiting in your bedroom tonight. But before we close, let me share a simple 3-night challenge that ties every lesson together and turns knowledge into habit. It's how Margaret, Michael, and thousands of others made the change stick, and it's how you will too. You've listened to the stories, you've seen the scans, you've felt the quiet urgency in every word. Now let's turn everything we've learned into 3 nights you'll never forget, 3 small steps that can rewrite the rest of your life. I call it the 3-night challenge, and it's how Margaret went from fear to freedom, how Robert reclaimed his mornings, how Michael flew drones again without a flicker of dizziness. It's gentle, it's practical, and it starts tonight. Night 1 is about breaking the back-sleeping habit that starves your brain of oxygen. Find an old tennis ball and a clean sock. Slip the ball inside. Then safety pin the sock right between your shoulder blades on the back of your pajama top. When you roll onto your back in the night, the gentle nudge wakes you just enough to flip to your side, no pain, no grogginess, just a soft reminder. While you're at it, lift the head of your bed 4 to 6 inches. Use wooden blocks or thick books under the bedposts at the headboard. Never a stack of pillows, which only cranes your neck. The slight incline lets gravity keep your airway open and your tongue forward. Keep a glass of water and a little notebook on your nightstand. Jot down how you feel when you wake, any less stiffness, any clearer thinking. 1 night is all it takes to notice the difference. Night 2 builds on the foundation. Keep the tennis ball if you still need the nudge, but now add 2 allies. Slip a cervical roll under the natural curve of your neck. Think of a firm, skinny sausage that cradles without lifting your head too high. It opens the vertebral arteries that feed the back of your brain. Between your knees, place a pillow thick enough to keep your hips stacked straight. A folded bath towel works if you don't have an extra cushion. The knee pillow stops your top leg from sliding forward and twisting your spine. Again, write a quick note in the morning. Did your lower back feel looser? Was your first breath deeper? Most folks tell me night 2 is when the aligned position starts to feel like home. Night 3 is graduation day. Combine everything into the full aligned side sleeper setup. Head pillow measured to your ear to shoulder gap. Cervical roll if you still love the support. Knee pillow keeping hips level. And a small rolled towel at your waist if there's a dip. Hug a long body pillow from chest to knees if you like the comfort of something to hold it locks your torso straight and prevents the pretzel twist. Turn off the lights, settle in, and let your body remember the path. In the morning, linger a moment before you sit up. Notice the absence of ache across your shoulders, the steady rhythm of your pulse, the quiet clarity behind your eyes. Write it down. Celebrate it. Here's the pro tip that turns good intentions into lifelong habit. Take a quick photo of your sleep setup each night, pillows placed, blocks under the bed, tennis ball pinned. Send the picture to someone you love, your daughter, your best friend, your neighbor who checks on you. Tell them, "This is me, keeping my promise to my brain." Accountability is magic. When someone else is watching, you show up for yourself. I still remember the first patient who sent me her 3-night photos. Her name was Clara, 75, former nurse, stubborn as the day is long. Night 1 tennis ball, lopsided grin in the mirror. Night 2 cervical roll and knee pillow, a thumbs up selfie. Night 3 full alignment, lights dim, peaceful as a painting. 6 months later, she mailed me a postcard from a cruise ship balcony at sunrise. "Danced until midnight," she wrote. "Woke up ready for more." I keep that card in my coat pocket. At 86, I still see patients 3 days a week, still round on the stroke ward when they page me. I do it because I've held too many hands that went cold from a preventable twist in the night, and I've felt too many pulses steady again when sleep finally became an ally instead of an enemy. Every aligned night is a thank you note from your brain, a promise kept to the people who need you tomorrow. You've got the challenge in your hands now: 3 nights, 3 photos, 3 mornings that could change everything. Start tonight. Your brain is listening. And when the sun comes up on day 4, I want to hear about it. Drop your age, your city, and how you felt after night 3 in the comments below. I read every single one, and I answer as many as I can with a tip just for you. If this video lit even a small spark of hope, share it with one person over 60 who deserves to wake up strong. You might just hand them the best gift they'll ever receive. Sweet dreams, safe dreams, and I'll see you in the morning light. Soft music rises, the same gentle piano that opened our time together. Dr. Hope leans closer, lamplight catching the kindness in his eyes, a small smile softening the lines on his face. We've walked a long road tonight, from the quiet dangers hiding in a starfish sprawl to the twisted pretzel that can steal a lifetime in one night. But every shadow we uncovered came with a light the tennis ball nudge, the cervical roll cradle, the knee pillow that keeps hips honest, the body pillow that guards against turns. Simple tools, gentle habits, one aligned side sleeping posture that opens every artery and steadies every heartbeat. Margaret uses them. Michael uses them. I use them. And starting tonight, they're yours. This isn't about fear. It's about freedom. The freedom to wake up clear-headed and steady-handed. To lift a grandchild without a second thought. To dance at a wedding. Or plant tomatoes in the spring sun. One small shift in how you lay your head can hand you back years you thought were slipping away. The science is solid. The steps are kind. And the choice is yours before the lights go out. You're never too old to protect the brain that holds every memory, every laugh, every plan for tomorrow. Margaret was 72 when she began. I'm 86 and still learning, still changing, still waking grateful. It's never too late for a night that heals instead of harms. If something in these stories stirred you, do 3 small things before you close the screen. First, leave a comment below. Tell me the position you've been sleeping in and whether you'll try aligned side sleeping tonight. I read every word, and I answer as many as I can with a note just for you. Second, tap that like button and subscribe. A new senior health secret arrives every week. Always gentle. Always hopeful. Third, share this video with one person over 60 who deserves to wake up strong tomorrow. You might hand them the rest of their life. Dr. Hope lifts the photograph of Margaret in her garden, roses bright against her smile. This is what hope looks like, real, earned, blooming, sweet dreams, safe dreams, and I'll see you in the comments, ready to hear how your first aligned night felt.